So when he messaged me about having coffee just to meet over business to discuss those things, that's really all I thought that it was about. But I didn't know that he was like trying to.
That's what it was about. I wanted, you to help me with the 516.
Oh, that was it? There was nothing more behind that?
No.
He's playing games.
That
is not true. Hey family, welcome back to our channel, Blending Love with the Loose Rebecca's. I'm Charity.
And I'm David.
And if you are returning, thanks, welcome back again. And if you're new here, feel free to join the family. We'd love to have you a part of our crew. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, all right? Or give us a like and share, all right? But today we are coming on here, all right, just to get to know us a little bit better. For those of you who are subscribed to our channel, you know that hubby and I have a big, beautiful blended family. We have 7 kids. All right. And if you haven't checked out our How We Met video, okay, I will make sure that I leave the link in the description box below. But today we're going to be talking all about our first date.
Okay.
Our first date. Not only our first date, but the only date that we had before we got married.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
We went on one date and then we got married, okay? So, I don't know. You want to start? Do you remember our first date? We're going to get it from his perspective first and see what he remembers.
Yeah, I think I remember I was in Texas working. I was in Texas working. So we planned it. I flew back home. I came home that evening. I changed. And then I came, I came to pick you up. And then we went to this very nice restaurant. And we started getting to know each other, and talking, and
So what led up to you even asking me on our first date? So before we even get into the date itself, how do we get to the point of you asking me on our first date? Do you remember?
We talked, I don't know, maybe it was like a week before the date, I think. We talked that weekend. It was Friday, I think. We talked for all night.
Yeah.
And then, we talked about all night. That was from, I don't know, what time was that?
You called me at 7 in the evening and we didn't get off the phone till 7 in the morning.
Yeah, we talked all night pretty much.
Yeah.
And then I think that's when we planned, right? Or we planned after. No, I don't remember.
I know. Sometimes it gets blurry, guys, right? So, I'm going to help hubby out. So, before we even got to him asking me out on a date, okay, he first had just invited me to coffee. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, he and I both are in ministry. And so, I have a nonprofit organization. My husband has a nonprofit organization. So we didn't date. We talked on the phone a couple of times. And for our full whole shindig of how we came together, I will leave the link in the description box below. Please go watch the video. But I had 501c3 status for my nonprofit. And my husband had messaged me and was like, hey, would you be willing to meet over coffee to discuss business? Because he wanted to know how to get 501c3 status for his organization. So, you know, I didn't think he liked me, although I had seen him, you know, and when I had seen him, I liked him, you know, and so I liked him. So when he messaged me about having coffee just to meet over business to discuss those things, that's really all I thought that it was about. But I didn't know that he was like trying to.
That's what it was about. I wanted, to you to help me with the 516.
Oh, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing more behind that.
No.
He's playing games.
That's what
That is not true. That's what he's saying now, but he was trying to fill me out then. So I agreed, and I'm like, yeah, we'll meet for coffee or whatever. But he was right. He was in Texas because he was out of town for work, so he wasn't even here in our state. And so he was like, I'll fly in, we'll meet for coffee. And what ended up happening is your flight got canceled.
Oh, yeah.
His flight got canceled. And so he called me and he was like super apologetic to the point to where it was like, really, it's not a big deal, And so I kind of read a little further into like, okay, what, like he's like so super apologetic. And that was the night that we stayed on the phone all night.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my God, it's both our memories.
The night we stay on the phone all night, that's when I asked you, was it that
there was because you were like apologizing because we were supposed to have met, and then you ended up not coming in.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah. I just remember like how apologetic you were. Like you were I'm so sorry.
I'm a man of my word, so I was just trying to make you understand that.
Now he is a man of his word. I'll give him that. But I later learned he was so apologetic because he was trying to fill me out, just to see. So anyways, we talked all night, and then he asked me to dinner. And I learned the whole coffee talking business was really not coffee to talk business. So we just cut through the chase. He was like, basically, I'm sorry, the plane got canceled. I'm not going to be able to meet you for coffee, but can we do dinner instead? I'm like, yeah, because I don't drink coffee anyway. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Me too.
And then he was like, me either. And I'm like laughing because I'm like, but you invited me to coffee. We both drink tea.
That's pretty much what, most people drink coffee.
That's true. So he didn't know because he didn't know me. So then we planned for dinner. Okay. So he asked me to dinner. And so now this leads us up to our first date and our only date before we got married, right? So my husband was explaining. So again, he's still working out of town. Now, in between this time, we're talking on the phone. And things did move very quickly for us. So, we were still talking on the phone in between this time because he was still working out of town. So we planned to go on our first date that next week, the following weekend. And then within that same week, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Okay. Now, we had only talked on the phone, right? Mm-hmm. Only talking on the phone. Hadn't got on any dates. He asked me if I would be his girlfriend. And I said yes. So I said yes. I agreed to become his girlfriend. Never have gone on any dates. Never been with each other. And there's a whole full backstory to this, but you'll have to watch the video. That's going to be linked in the description box to get that whole backstory. So I'm anticipating going out on my first date with this man. Now that's my boyfriend, right? And so that Friday came. And so he flew in, because like I said, he was working out of town. He flew in and got himself dressed, picked me up. He had made reservations at this wonderful restaurant, like what, 5-star restaurant? Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the time they had just a newly built restaurant here in our state called Success Restaurant. It's reservation only. Absolutely gorgeous restaurant. So he came, picked me up from my place, took us on a walk at the park. So we went on a walk at the park before we headed to the restaurants where he had made reservations. And I just remember, for me, like, it was so special. I had been single and celibate, before I met my husband. I had been single and celibate for almost 7 years, 6.5 years. So I took note of such minute details. He opened every door, and he just was a gentleman. My husband is very calm, really a very calm, gentle, laid back guy. And I just observed his demeanor. But so he took me to this restaurant, beautiful ambiance. But what I enjoyed about our first date was, one, his company. But on our first date, so during my time of singleness, I journaled, and I'm still a journaler. And everything that I had prayed for concerning a husband, different things that the Lord had spoke to me about marriage for my life, I began to kind of scroll through on my phone, and we compared notes. We compared like our prayers, basically, on our first date. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like kind of like an aha moment, because as we begin to share like our prayer points, our prayer journals with each other, it became very apparent, like, a lot of the things that he had prayed for, both of us like possessed. It was just like, wait a minute, like, I prayed for this and this is like sitting right here before me.
Yeah.
It was very like surreal. Because I was like, okay, God, like, wait, you said this, and then, okay, he's right here, and this is adding up, and then you said this, and this is adding up. We're both, worshipers. I prayed for, I said, God, I want a man who worships as David worshiped, who's a worshiper like David. Well, he's a worshiper. He's actually praise and worship leader of, again, a nonprofit organization that he runs, but also a praise and worship group called Unchained. And I was like, how ironic that God brings this man whose name is David, who's a worshiper. Like, God has a sense of humor, There were so many things. I had told God that the man who you had for me, there was a specific thing I wanted him to say to me. And the words was, I see you. Well, in the week leading up to our first date, when my husband asked me to be his girlfriend, never having gone out, never having touched each other, what he said to me was, I had sang at an event that Unchained had put on, and I had joined the group, actually, so it was my first time singing with them, okay, but he and I were not together. And he told me, he was like, remember when you sang? And I'm like, yeah. He said, well, I saw you, I see you, and I want to know if you'll be my girlfriend. So no one knew that. I hadn't shared that with anybody. I had only shared that with the Lord. That was something personally I asked the Lord, because what I had experienced in my past of not being valued, I told God I wanted to be with someone who would value me and who would see me. And I want him to say these specific words, God. That's what I told God, to say, I see you. And he said those words to me. So on our date, we shared our prayer journals with each other. And that was so refreshing. And we laughed and we talked. I have to be honest, I don't remember the food really.
Yeah, I mean,
I know he ordered a steak, and I only remember that because my husband loves steak. And anywhere we go, that's all this man is ordering. He rarely orders anything outside of steak. So I know you ordered a steak because he only orders steak.
Yeah, we went there also because it's a very nice restaurant. They have good steaks too.
Okay. Yeah. I was very thoroughly impressed, because I could tell that he took his time to make that special, and I appreciated that. But what I appreciated more was his company. I enjoyed our conversation. He made me laugh. And so I don't remember the food. I think I ordered chicken or something. Yeah. But so during our time inside the restaurant, we just shared, what our goals were, what each of us had hoped for the future, what we were looking forward to do, even our goals as far as it pertains to what we wanted to do in God, and, looking for that partner to walk with in those things together. We shared things about, of course, our life and, the things that we had endured in the past and how we were trusting God to, help us overcome those things. And for me, it was starting to really become apparent. It was just like, okay, like I said, as we were sharing our prayer journal, it was really just like spot on, but I still hadn't come to that moment at that particular moment in time. Like this was the man I was going to marry, but I just knew I was very smitten with him. I really was. I was very smitten with him. One thing I always share with my husband, right from the start, my husband made me feel safe. And I don't use that word loosely. That is a big word with me. He makes me feel safe. And the only man in my life I had ever felt safe with was my dad. But in any other relationship outside of the father-daughter relationship, any other relationship in my past that I had, old boyfriends, baby daddies, I hate that term, but it is what it is. I never felt safe, and I was always used to being the person who was in authority or the breadwinner. I never felt safe. I always knew I felt like I had to be in charge and on top of things. But with my husband, from the start, I felt safe. So, I don't know, I'm talking a lot. What else?
No,
what do you remember from the date?
So I remember that, I was relaxed, I tried to explain myself, what I saw from you, why I wanted, you to be my wife. And
can you talk about how we got to that point? Because that happened on our first date. He did ask me to be his wife. But how did we get there?
I know we started planning for the wedding, You
want me to tell?
Yeah,
I remember. So, okay. So, like my husband said, he picked me up. We went, we took a walk. We went to the restaurant. So, again, very nice restaurant. At the restaurant, we shared our prayer journals. And we just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. So once we were finished with dinner, finished with talking, we went back to his car and we stayed in the parking lot in his car just talking. And now I told you guys I had joined his worship team. Okay, so I had sang with his worship team one time. And so my husband is from Tanzania, and with our ministry team, he goes every year back to Tanzania and does crusades and conferences. So the ministry team was planning on going to Tanzania the upcoming year. Now, mind you, this was October of 2021. So the team was planning on going to Tanzania for the upcoming crusade the summer of 2022. So since I had joined the worship team, I had planned then I was going to go to Tanzania with them. And that's a whole nother testimony within itself. Again, please watch the video to get the whole background with that, okay? Yeah. So we were in the parking lot and discussing, the upcoming trip that the ministry team was going to be taking to Tanzania for the crusade. And then my husband, we're talking, and he says, I know it's you. He said, let's get married. Now, mind you, in the moment, my mind kind of went back to the past that Charity had been in. So I remember in that moment thinking, first I thought, is this man serious or is he playing with me? Okay. Because I wanted him to be serious, but in the moment I'm like, is this like a game? Is this a joke? Is he playing with me? And I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah, I know what I want. He said, let's get married. And I said, okay.
That was easy. It's good, to say what you want.
So after I said, okay, he's like, get your phone. Let's pull up the calendar. And he was like, let's look at a date. So then I'm like, this man is really for real. So we're looking through the phone, looking at the calendar. And so me in my head, I had always wanted a beach wedding. So I told him that. I said, well, I've always wanted a beach wedding. It would be nice to get married on the beach. But where we live in the Midwest. We don't live around any water. There are no beaches where we live. So I'm like, oh, well, you know what? The ministry team is already going to be in Tanzania in the summer of 2022. Since we're already going to be there, I'm like, why don't we just get married in Tanzania? There's beaches there, and we could just get married on the beach. We'll already be there. And he was like, I've always wanted a beach wedding too. He was like, okay. So we picked a Saturday date on the calendar during the time that we were already going to be there. And we're like, okay, we're going to do it on this date. Cool beans. Okay. First date. All right. So I'm on cloud 9. He takes me home after a wonderful date. And so that was our first date. Okay. So on our first date, we planned a wedding. Okay. We planned the wedding. And the cool thing about that, when we talk about traveling with the ministry team, my family is a ministry. My parents are pastors. So my mom and them were already planning on going, my brothers. So my family was going to be there. So I'm like, cool, they'll be there. And then we'll just have a wedding too. So we get home. Well, I get home. He dropped me off at home and he went home. And then I'm getting ready for bed, getting my kids ready for bed. And he calls me and he said, hey, he said, that's too far away. That's too long. He's like, we have to get married sooner. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you serious? Now, again, this is why you need to go watch the testimony, because God had given me a prophecy. And what he told me, he said, within less than 6 months of meeting your husband, you two would be married. This was a personal word that God had spoke to me. He said, within less than 6 months of meeting your husband, you two would be married. Now, the time frame we had planned to get married would have been well over a year, well over what God had said. So my husband didn't even know that. Well, he knows that now, but at that time he didn't know that. So he calls me and he says, he's like, that's too far away. He was like, we got to get married sooner. He was like, I want to marry you now. He said, and I'm like, well, I'm a teacher. I was a teacher in the classroom at that time. I homeschool teach now, but so I was still working, still teaching, it was still the middle, towards the end of the school year. And so I told him, I said, I'm working. So I'm like, what do you mean sooner? Like, how soon? And I think you said before the end of the year, didn't you? Yeah, he was like, before the end of this year. And I'm like, wait, whoa, we're in October of 2021. And this man is now telling me, after we planned that we were going to get married in June of 2022, that we needed to get married before the end of 2021, and it was October, which means how many months were left? 2 months. So I'm like, wait. I was like, I'm still in school. I don't have a break. Because see, I was thinking summer, I get summer breaks, And so he's like, okay, get your phone, get your calendar. He's like, when's the next time you have a break from school? And so I thought about it. I was like, well, Christmas break. I said, we get 2 weeks, 2.5, almost 3 weeks for Christmas break. I said, that's the next time I will have a break off from work, So my husband is looking. He was like, okay, I'm looking at my calendar. And then he's like, okay, when is the last working day before break? And I said, Friday. It's a Friday, December the 17th. He said, okay, the Saturday is the 18th. That's a Saturday. Let's get married on Saturday the 18th. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. And I said, okay.
That was... No, it was something that you had to be there to see.
Yeah, that is true.
You had to be there to see. And I'm sure you would appreciate it.
So my husband's like, okay, he's like, Saturday, the 18th is a Saturday. Let's do it the 18th. So I said, okay. And the rest is history. We got married Saturday, December the 18th of 2021. And we didn't miss out on anything, when I say God is good, and when God says he will write your love story, he will do that. He will do just that. That was our first date. Our first date, we planned a wedding. We planned to get married, and that's what happened. And we didn't miss a beat. Within that 2 month span of time, you would have thought that we had planned for that wedding for the whole year. My husband, who I thank God for him, we had a big, huge wedding. Okay. How he was able to pull that off in a 2 month span of time, I will never know. I know that's the grace of God. We had a full, huge wedding party. 8 bridesmaids, 8 groomsmen. Everybody had their tuxes and dresses on time. It was a miracle. I was able to go get my dress even within the span of time. My husband paid and covered everything. I know traditionally in America, the father of the bride does, and my father was well able and was going to do it, but my husband said, don't take that from me. He said, where I come from, that's what the man does. And that's what he did. But that was another prophecy the Lord gave me. He said, you will not have a hand in your marriage. He said, you will simply show up and it will be done for you. When I tell you that I simply showed up, girlfriend showed up and everything was done and laid out, that's exactly what happened. God fulfilled his word. So God is a good God. So first date turned into a whole marriage.
No, I mean, it was, sometimes, God has his boys, So when he was giving you that prophecy, he knew he had his boy, he had his boy, and his boy is going to take care of everything, his boy. So he was telling you pretty much, what he knew, that his boy is going to do.
Well, I'm grateful.
But what I'm trying to say is, I know we talked about that last time when we were at church, right?
Mm-hmm.
That even God knows us, He knows everything about us. And as we plan our things, God is in details. He's there working with us, So don't feel discouraged if you're not there yet. Know that God has his boys and his girls somewhere. Okay, so you continue to pray, continue to believe, that it shall come to pass. Okay, when God got you, He has angels working, around the clock, to fulfill what he has promised in your life. Okay.
That's good, babe. That's good. God does know you. He knows the details of your life. So it's so important to, and we were talking about that earlier too, just to surrender to him and trust him. Because he does know the details of our life. And when we surrender that to him and allow him to be God, then really how he would love to. So I just pray that has encouraged someone. I was telling my husband, I was like, oh, let's talk about our first date. But really, we're talking about our first date. We can't really talk about our first date within, not really kind of going into talking about the marriage, because that's kind of how it happened. We literally went on one date, and from there, it's become just who we are today. But all God. All God, but all of it was, fulfilled of what God spoke over our lives. Like my husband said, he knew him, he knew me, and we chose to surrender to him. And that's what we just simply encourage whoever may be watching this, wherever you may be, just to be encouraged and know that he does know you. He knows your name. Just trust him, surrender to him, yield to what he is saying for you to do in your life. And he will literally fill in every single details, not just as it pertains to relationship, and marriage, but in every area of your life, So we hope that you guys have enjoyed. Do you have anything else, babe?
No, I mean, just keep on believing.
Don't stop.
I know.
Believe.
When I say that, that song came to my mind. That song came into my mind. And that came into my mind. Yeah, don't stop believing. You know, God is going to fulfill every promise to you. Don't give up on God.
He won't give
Up on you.
He's able.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, again, we hope that you guys have enjoyed spending this time with us and just learning a little bit more about us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Leave us a comment. We love to hear from you. And we're also praying with and for you. And likewise, pray for us. It tells us to pray one for another. So, but again, hope you guys have enjoyed. It's been wonderful and beautiful. And until next time, family, I almost got tongue tied. Until next time, family, we'll see you guys in the next one. Be blessed. Bye.
Bye bye.